Hey guys, what's going on? Shadowlands back from the video. Today I wanted to talk about what we could see in the future of Combat Arms in terms of communication with Nexon. The other day I made a video on what's so bad about communication with Nexon, how bad they've done in the past, but I didn't really focus a lot on how they can get better. I didn't focus a lot on what we can see to improve and where I think it's honestly going to go in the future. And so now I kind of wanted to share my thoughts and kind of see what you guys think about where communication is going, should be going, what we should be doing, and how we can go ahead and improve our communication with Nexon. Because as much as I wouldn't say I hate to admit it, but one thing I really didn't touch on and probably should have, and this is my fault, guys, is that I didn't touch on how we as players can also better communicate with Nexon, because quite frankly, we're just as bad. We are just as guilty as Nexon, although Nexon didn't really provide us the ways to. Looking at the state of the community right now, I don't think we would have really taken the opportunity, given the chance, to really sit down and have a conversation with Nexon. And I think they've also recognized this, and that's also part of the reason that they had the global meeting get inspired. I think that's how they inspired that global meeting, get players to literally come to their office and talk to them face to face. Unfortunately, by the way, guys, I won't be able to go to that. I know I've gotten probably 200 messages so far, people saying I should go to that meeting. I would love to, guys, and I would do everything I could, but I happen to be moving houses on that exact day, so I literally can't. I have no way to do that, so unfortunately I can't. I'm going to be trying to send my ideas with some other people that I'm good friends with that hopefully will be able to bring up some of the topics that I've talked about in the past few videos. But anyway, moving on, I want to get into today's topic, so sorry about the ado. Let's go ahead and get this going. First of all, I want to say I am very pleased about them inviting players to the global meeting. I think this is a great step forward. It's showing incentive. People don't just pay thousands of dollars to fly a bunch of random people to their headquarters if they don't intend to make something of it. And so I think that's really looking towards better communication with the players in general, and I think it's setting a very, very good precedent. It's a very strong one in saying that they're not willing to let the game die. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. Primarily because they did see that the game was going downhill, and they want to fix that. It seems that they're now willing to put more time into Combat Arms than they have in the past few years, which is the reason a lot of players quit in the first place, some of which are coming back. Me and a few of my friends that I know had quit are now coming back to the game and playing, and I think that's part of the reason why. We're starting to see better communication, and we're starting to see that they're willing to put more effort into this game to make people want to come back and play it some more, and honestly, it's part of the reason I'm back, and I've been quite enjoying my time since coming back. Now, a few more things I want to touch on, obviously. I want to see the ticket system revised, and I don't mean like fix a few things and be more active on the ticket system. I mean modernize it. I mean, right now the way the ticket system works is a very old, archaic looking, just not very friendly UI for sending in reports and communicating with the company, and really it's the one lifeline we have with them, and it's never for positive reasons. It's never saying, hey, great job, you guys did a good job with this game, or hey, let's commend this player for doing something awesome. Honestly, the ticket system should also be built into the game, not the website. Right now, Nexon has this one massive ticket system that works for all of their games. MapleStory, Mabinogi, Combat Arms, you name it. All of their games are in one ticket system. They need to have a separate one for Combat Arms. They need to have a separate one for every one of their games. And it needs to be built into the game client, not just on their website. Of course, they can keep the one on the website, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying get rid of that, but I'm saying we need a very specific one for Combat Arms, and it should include good things as well as bad things. If we want to commend a player, we should be able to right-click on their name and say, commend this player. He's been very, very good. He's been very friendly. He's been very helpful, and sort of like that. Destiny actually has something like that, where you can click on a player's name and say you can have good reports as well as bad reports, and I think that'd be kind of cool too. In fact, there could be rewards for players that get a lot of good commendations from different players, and I'm sure there's very easy ways you can moderate that, like say you're only allowed to give 3 commendations a day or something like that. That way you couldn't spam it, but it's very easy workaround so they couldn't spam rewards and stuff like that. But anyway, moving on, listening to community ideas. I want to get the community involved in game development, not just fixing what's broken. What we've been doing now, and what I honestly think the majority of this meeting is about, is fixing what isn't working with the game, but in the future, not right now. We need to fix what's broken first. You want to fix what's broken before you go try to add new content. That's part of the reason Nexon's been failing in a lot of things, is they're not fixing what's broken before moving on to throwing out new maps and new guns and new modes and stuff like that. They're not fixing what's broken, but in the future, I want to see the community involved in the base game development, and I'm talking about map and weapon creations. In the past, it's been a few years now, we've seen things where players will actually get to create maps, and I think I said it in a recent video. I forget whether it was Oil Rig or a map that came out around the same time, but there was a map around then that was created by a player, and it's in the game, and there's actually a couple of them. I think there's 3 or 4 that were made by players, and same with guns. We've seen some guns. I think some of the more festive guns, like the squirt gun or the alien gun, some of those weird weapons were actually made by players. They were not made by Nexon. I'm sure they were balanced and given statistics by Nexon, but they weren't made graphically and made a concept by Nexon. The players made that, and I would love to see that. That is so cool. If you look at Counter-Strike Global Offensive or Team Fortress 2, a lot of community-made ideas get put through the workshop and then get put into the game. That is so cool to see that the players are actually affecting the way the game evolves and not just helping fix what goes wrong. Obviously, we want to have feedback on what goes wrong as well, but actually having input into what goes into the game, that is super cool, and I wish they would bring that back. If we could have like a map competition 2 or 3 times a year to have new maps put into the game, that'd be super cool. Like have half of the maps be made by Nexon and half of the events be made by Nexon and half of them be voted on by the community. That would be super cool. They could even be a voting system. Like they could say, okay, we're planning these 3 or 4 different events. Which ones do you guys like most? And we'll make 1 or 2 of them come true. That would be super cool, and it would not be super difficult. On top of that, it would help them focus what the community really wants to see. I think that would be super cool. Moving on, along with the whole sponsoring thing, if we could sponsor events like that and have giveaways. Now, I'm not saying just events like Spiders vs. Scorpions. I'm talking about like giveaway events where you have raffles, where you have lotteries. I'm not talking about 5-shot. That's kind of a weird roulette thing, and it's very cool. I like the 5-shot. It shouldn't go anywhere. It's doing fine as it is. It's a great way for a little gimmick to people to log into the game every day. But we should have more of those. We should have more reasons to log into the game. We want to have more reasons to get on every day. Like if you log in a certain number of days in a row, this is one thing Soldier Front 2 did, or if you logged in a certain number of days in a row, you would get better and better progressive prizes for that month. And if you logged in every day for the month, you would get a permanent, really cool weapon or something like that. That was a really cool mechanic. It was a really cool gimmick, and it actually got people to come play the game a lot, at least logging in, checking stuff. And if you log in, you're like, oh, well, I might as well play 1 game or 2 games, and that's what spawns activity. That's where you start really getting people to come play the game, giveaways like that. And I do want to actually elaborate on that more. So not only do we want people to come and play the game a couple times a day or a couple games, even like 1 or 2 games is fine, and just give away stuff, we also want to make people work for it. They get this stuff called GP in-game. I'm sure all of you are familiar with GP. It's the in-game currency. But what if we had permanent sales maybe once a month and not a lot of weapons, like maybe like 2 or 3 weapon choices that are like NX rare or NX like some kind of like more difficult weapon to get, NX rare, higher gold grade, whatever they're called now, for GP, but they would cost a lot of GP. Like imagine being able to buy an AK-74M gold or something like that, but it would cost you 400k GP, which obviously you'd have to play a lot during the month to rack up that much GP, but then you would have something you could spend it on at the end of the month, and then you could be given a choice between like 3 or 4 different weapons. Sure, you may be able to afford all of them, but that's unlikely, and it may leave you drained for next month. But it'd be cool to have something like that come up in the last weekend of every month or something like that. If you look at Destiny, every week there's a character named Xur that comes around, and he sells these exotic weapons and armor pieces. He sells these very rare pieces of gear that you can get in exchange for a rarer currency. You have a rare currency called strange coins and also motes of light that you can go and spend on stuff like that, but they're hard to get. They don't just fall out of the sky. You have to work for them, you have to play the game, but there's not something you can specifically do to grind it. You just play, and you're awarded them as you go. And so having something like that we can look forward to on a set basis, like at the end of every month, I don't think we should have it every weekend. That's a little bit excessive, but maybe once at the end of the month for 3 or 4 days, have a sale like that. Do that every month and have 2 or 3 different weapons or pieces of gear go on sale every month for GP, things that players can get and spend their money on. And they don't have to be the best weapons in the game. You don't have to put on the SIG 50 and the Black Magnum unless you want to charge an absurd amount of GP for it. But just like the typical rare weapons that we like, that would be super cool. I'd be very down to see that. Moving on now, you guys have heard enough of that topic. I want them to fix voice chat. I'm going to say this very quickly. There's not a lot that I really have to say on this, but fixing voice chat so that we not only have communication with the company, but communication with each other, people on the other team. It's a very key thing, especially in a game where you play on a team. You're not just playing solo. Even though it's very easy for one player to carry a solo team in this game, to like solo an entire team in this game, you still want to have communication so you can talk to each other, and that's really cool. It worked for a little while back in like 2010 to 11, and then it broke late way through 2012 and just hasn't worked since, and I think they've even completely removed it from the game. But they should put it back and they should make it work. It's a really cool feature for online games to have, and it's very useful, especially with clan wars, and that way we won't have to go and use other services like TeamSpeak 3. Obviously, some people will still go and do that. I probably would still go and do that, but I think this is a fundamental thing we should have in the game. The last thing I want to bring up today is have moderators play the game like they used to. This is something players have been screaming about for years. Have the people who make the game play the game. Not only does this include communication with the players, it also gives them direct feedback as to what is currently working and what is currently not. If a moderator walks into a game and gets killed by the Max's R870 30 times in a row, they're going to realize, nobody's using anything but the Max's R870. Maybe we should nerf that. It's kind of like having direct feedback, but you don't see moderators playing the game, if at all, anymore. But you used to see them all the time. Back in 2009, 10 even, and going all the way into 2011, you would walk into a room. It was not uncommon to see a moderator there, communicating with the community, having fun, playing with us. Now, I mean, I understand that they have a job to do and they have their own stuff, but playing a couple of games here and there when they've got all these different moderators that do such a great job, and some of them are really friendly people that are great at communicating with the community, I think that'd be really great if we could have people that actually wanted to go and do that. Having moderators go and do that would be a really big boon to the community. And on top of that, we like talking to them, and having people that actually come back and give feedback directly to the game itself, that is a great thing to have in a great game like this. Combat Arms, as a fundamental point, is a fun game. I enjoy playing it. A lot of other people enjoy playing it. We want to see it get better, and I think having first-hand experiences like that from the dev team would be better than simply beta testing amongst themselves. Anyway, guys, that's kind of where I wanted to leave off today. Thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shadowlance out.